It's innovation, of course. I mean, you basically cut a Glock in half and made it fold in on itself. Cool idea. Engineering stuff was cool to see.
Welcome to the State of the Second podcast. My name is John, and today we're joined by Jordan from Gideon Optics. How are you, my friend?
Great. How are you, John?
Good. So first and foremost, I want to start off. We got a little gift from you. This is from our sponsor and partner at Palmetto and AAC. So this is an ammo dump that they're going to be sending you after the show. So go ahead and here you go. You got a cool dump of ammo from AAC.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you for being here. You can
leave it up there.
No, you can take it out. Leave it
brand
up.
spot. No.
Yeah, little brand spot. They got their.
They got it.
They got it. Yeah, cool. So, go ahead and get just a little background about who you are, and we'll dive into this.
Sure. So I'm Jordan Vinroe with Gideon Optics and a few other brands you may have heard of. I started about 11 years ago in the firearms industry, selling parts, gun shows, and online, and then we just kind of gradually have built different things along the way, added more parts in, gun shows. We have a couple series of gun shows throughout the country, and now we have an optics brand that we're really leaning into and having a lot of fun with that. So
yeah, you guys have a blast with it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
You've all become your own celebrity at SHOT Show with your own individual patch.
Yeah, we got some fun ones this year too. Yeah, that's a new thing we're doing. Yeah,
excited. So we're going to go into our first segment, which is our rapid fire segment. This is brought to you by Blackout Coffee. Go ahead and check out Blackout Coffee for the new GOA No Compromise Roast. Get your caffeine fix from Blackout Coffee. Again, they support GOA. Support the companies that support us and help us with our no compromise mission. So we're going to ask you 5 questions. You can answer them as fast or as slow as you want. And you just start into this. So first question, pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No.
No? Why? No pineapple on pizza?
I don't eat pineapple at all.
Oh.
Certainly not on pizza. I'm a heathen.
What is your EDC?
Right now, SIG P365 with a Patmos arm slide, which is one of our brands. And I have a prototype Gideon Judge 2 on there. So I get to try all the new stuff for a while before we release it.
Spoiler. If you could make one firearms movie realistic, which one would it be?
Oh, man. I don't know. Rambo, probably.
Rambo?
Yeah.
They're all, which Rambo? The First Blood? First Blood Part 3?
Yeah, First Blood.
First Blood. What are your top 3 guns for the zombie apocalypse?
Probably an AR-15, 5.56, 12 gauge, probably a Glock.
Probably a Glock.
Yeah.
Which one? Any?
9mm, 19, Glock 19.
Glock 19.
And the reason is because all that's the most common ammo you're going to find when you're pillaging for wares and items.
And then last question is, what is your go-to home defense?
Right now, it's a Mossberg Shockwave, little shorty 12 gauge.
Fun?
Yeah. It's fun,
compact. Is it got a brace on it, or is it just...
No, just the bird's head.
Just the bird head?
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah, it's just what's laying next to my bed right now.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and talk about, Gideon and how you guys started and all that stuff, because you guys are relatively newish to the industry. Go ahead and just what made you want to get in the optics game?
Sure. So JSD Supply was our original business and brand, and we were selling privately made firearm parts, basically, is what they've become 80% more commonly known as. And so some of the laws were starting to change, and we kind of saw that coming. So we wanted to get into something that was less politically charged. So we were looking at knives. Maybe we'd start a knife company. Maybe we start an optics company. We weren't sure, but it was one of those 2 paths. And so we went down both of them and eventually landed on optics. So one of our remote employees, Mike Branson, has worked in a few different optics companies over the years. So he became available, and so we worked with him a little bit. He does a lot of our design work on the reticles, and he's more of our technical guy too. He knows all the nerd stuff, I like to call it. So we did that, and all the folks at work are active shooters and different involvement with the industry. So optics is something that we all use. We thought, well, why don't we do it and add our flavor to it? So we've been out for about 2 years now to retail. So it's been a lot of fun. We've been growing like crazy. It's been excellent to have already had all the pitfalls in business previously in this industry. Any of the wrong turns we made or whatever, we kind of get to jump the line in that regard since we've been around for a while. So
well, that's awesome. I'm glad that you guys are doing it. Now, I know this. I don't know if a lot of people know this. You're a Pittsburgh boy.
Yep.
Is that why you went black and gold? It's just...
Yeah, I'm sure it plays into it subconsciously because that's all we see in our area in Western Pennsylvania is black and gold. So, yeah, it just, I don't know. We just liked it. I think it pops.
So you got into this game. What was the first optic you came out with?
We came out with, I think probably 3 or 4 right away. Our top seller is the Omega. It's kind of like the large circular window, competition style type of optic.
My personal favorite. Get yourself one.
Yeah. So we have a lot of people that really like that because there's other higher dollar, more expensive optics out there that are very similar. And, guys that are girls too, I guess, but guys that want to get into some competition shooting, but they don't want to spend the $700 on just an optic to try it. They can get ours for, in the ballpark of low 200s and, hit the range, hit the local match, whatever, and have a lot of fun. So it's an easy segue into figuring out if an optic is right for your pistol or that style. So
here's my quick, little spicy topic for right now. Can we get together? And so now I'm talking to an optics company. Can we get together, all the optics companies, in one room and go, hey, this is the standardized footprint that we're going for everything. And everybody, here's the screws that we're going to use, and everybody go with this.
Yeah. Have you ever heard high school girls argue about things? That's essentially what that side of the business is like. So, yeah, there is no standard really. There's like 2 or 3 that kind of are the big boys right now for as far as footprints. But
so what? Armor, MSC.
Yeah, and Delta Point Pro is starting to come on pretty strong. I know some of Vortex's stuff is coming out with that footprint. So I think they're trying to make a push to kind of standardize that one. So
just want one standardization.
Come on. Yeah.
And all the screws cut to the same size and depth. And yeah,
it's never going to happen.
Yeah. I can pray and hope.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
You can.
We'll get there.
I think you, Jordan.
I'm going to spearhead this.
You're going to spearhead this.
Demand that all the other manufacturers do what I say.
Do what I say. So while we're on the topic of spearheading things, you guys were at our first convention.
Yes.
And we were talking last night about this. You guys really enjoyed yourself. It was really busy the whole time. What did you see at our convention that was different from other things that you've gone to?
So I really like knowing the people that are putting the event on. So like when I see you walking through the crowd, I get to be crazy and be silly in the middle of the show. So that's great. Not all conventions allow me to be myself when we're there. So, yeah, it's awesome. And then to see, how I know some of the inner workings of putting on a show. So to see you guys succeeding there is really fun because I know how hard it is to put on a convention and a show that, nobody really knows what goes on behind the scenes. They think you just show up and here it is, set your stuff up and get out, So, but that was awesome. And then, GOA is like one giant family, and when we're there, we feel that way too. Like everybody says hello, even some of the higher ranking people, they come through and it's just friendly and fun. So it's some of the most fun we have was at Goals.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to Rachel over at Night Vision. She said that, that was the most fun. A lot of people had said this to me, but she really stood out is that the people coming up to your booth actually wanted to have conversations with you about the product. It wasn't just like, you make what?
Yeah. Yeah. It was great engagement too. The customers or the folks that are attendees were all super happy to talk to you and friendly. This space is just friendly generally. The two-way space, everybody is kind of like on one mission at the end of the day. So it's fun to see different walks of life come through and just learn more about the local area and what consumers are wanting to see out of our products.
Yeah. So as we continue with this, kind of talking about the optics and things like that, what kind of like restraints or restrictions or what goes into the process of developing a new optic and trying to get it into the country?
I mean, if you got into like tritium or any kind of that stuff, there's some heavy regulation. But right now, for what our products are, there's not much. I mean, you just declare it at customs and pay your import taxes and and get it. So we design a lot of it here, and the engineering's done here, and then our overseas manufacturers make it to our spec. We get it in. They inspect it before they ship it. We get everything in, and we touch every single product when it comes in to our shop, and then again when it goes back out. So say we get, for number's sake, 100 units in, the guys will check every single one of those, put batteries in, make sure the reticle isn't purple when it's supposed to be red or whatever. So they check that, and then it'll go on the stock shelf and basically ready for retail, ready to be shipped out. And then once it is ready to ship out, they will then check it again just to make sure that the warehouse guy didn't miss something. Now the shipping guy gets to take a final look at it again. So we've had great success doing that.
Now, do you guys have a great warranty? So people who don't know, what is your warranty process?
So it's lifetime warranty. You send us an email basically and say, whatever, I don't know, you broke the glass. We even cover, I don't know what, my lawyers will probably be mad, but I cover basically anything. As long as you don't tell me you beat it with a baseball bat on purpose or ran it over with your F-250 just to see what would happen. If you dropped it off this table and something were to happen, we replace it. So it's a lifetime warranty for the product.
That's great.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, especially in this industry, you need to stand by your product. And if you don't, you could become that. But I've heard nothing but great things. Hey, this broke, that called them. It was already replaced within 2 hours. I had a new shipping label. Mm-hmm. So it's great to hear. What goes into that process of developing a new optic? Do you just go, hey, there's this need that we need, or is it just like, hey, so and so's doing this, let's piggyback off of this and make something at a better price point?
So kind of all of that, I guess. Price point's always a big one for us. I like to be, I don't want to say at the lowest price point, but I want to be at an aggressive price point and still be able to offer high quality, a product that's going to do what we say it's going to do and do it repeatedly. So that goes into a lot of it. And so speaking just of red dots on pistols, the footprint is very small. There's only so much you can do with a piece of metal, a piece of glass, and a little light beam. So there's going to be a lot of overlap in styling, but we try to bring a little bit of our own flavor to the options that we have available. So there's really not a whole lot of huge leaps in innovation in this space right now. Mike said the other day, and it's a great point, is that the innovation right now is being able to make the product better, faster, and cheaper than even 5 years ago. A lot of our LPVOs, low power variable optic, rifle scopes, ours that sells for $400, 5, 6, 7 years ago, it'd probably be in the $1,200 range for the exact same product, same quality, everything. But, with technology, we've been able to make it cheaper, quicker, and still maintain the same quality. So
now, I mean, we weren't going to talk about the election, but we're post-election. Do you have any concerns over any tariffs or anything like that? We're bringing stuff into the country, like?
Yeah, we've talked about it. I don't know. There's always seems to be a way to maneuver that and still stay within the legal bounds. So we don't know. I don't like to get too worked up about stuff until it happens. So there's no sense in losing sleep over tariffs, because if we come up with an idea and say, okay, well, we're going to have plan A, and then that never comes to fruition because the tariffs were not put on or they weren't in a certain way that we thought they were going to be. So we'll navigate that when it comes, but it's not going to be just our product line either. It's going to be everybody else's. So it's still a level playing field, I guess you could say.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a big thing when it comes to, everyone was so concerned over that. And we're post-election now. The big thing that we need to really do is continue to push our politicians. I know we won, but now is the time to continue that grassroots effort and push to get exactly what we want. There's a lot of talk about national reciprocity and things like that. That doesn't happen unless we push. And that's a big thing that we need to do. Is now is not the time to, as human beings, we come, and I guess again with the Republican side of the House, we win, and then we're just like, cool,
right,
we're good, we got this. No, now is the time to actually push. If you were to give a message to gun owners right now, about that, what would you say?
Yeah, you need to contact your congressmen, your senators, even at a state level. It's hugely important. You don't understand how much they look at those numbers when somebody calls in and say, I support or I don't support this bill that's coming or this law that maybe will be changing. So you really got to get in front of the line and let your representatives know how you stand and how the rest of the community stands too. So in our industry and I'll speak maybe for conservatives in general, we just kind of want to be left alone. So we figure, hey, we're not going to push the envelope. They're off my back now. Taxes are a little bit lower. It's a little bit easier to buy things now. Great. That's all we want. Leave me alone. Let me buy my groceries. Let me get my kids to where they need to be and, stay out of my life, basically, from a government standpoint. So I think that's where you're right. I think we dropped the ball a lot in the activism side, if that's what you want to call it. So we need to get a little bit more organized. But I mean, with GOA, you guys, are kind of the forefront of that. So, the information you guys put out, just piggyback off of that at your local level and push these folks to get in line with what we need.
Yeah, and that's a big thing with GOA. We are a grassroots organization, so we want to continue to grow. And big thing, guys, if you're listening to this, and I know we've said this before, but it takes 30 seconds. Just go to our website. You can find your congressman, your senator right there. There's form letters that you can fill out, or we can tell you how to write it, and you just go in and fill that out and send 30 seconds to write a letter to your congressman or senator. But you're absolutely right, is as conservatives, we really just want to be left alone. We want to be left alone. We don't want to be poked. And I don't want to say that's our downfall, but that is something we're not loud. We're not noisy. Mm-hmm. But now is the time for us to actually win back some of those rights that were taken away, get stuff. And that kind of leads into our next segment, which is From the Soapbox. From the Soapbox is brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Go to patriotmobile.com and use code GOA for 1 month free to switch over. They've got fantastic network. You can choose between a ton of networks. Go to their website for more information. Again, use code GOA for 1 month free. So From the Soapbox is where we talk about policy and things that are our frustrations and our gripes and things like that with the ATF. And you being at GSD Supply and 80% Frames, you've got a big gripe that's been you got to fight because you've started Gideon Optics because of this fight. Go ahead and just jump into that.
Yeah. So we were involved in the Vanderstock case for the frame and receiver rule that essentially shut down the entire 80% side of the business. So that's made its way to the Supreme Court. We actually went in October 8th of 2024 was the hearing, oral arguments. So I got to take my family down to that. That was pretty cool. Defense Distributed was there. Blackhawk Manufacturing, which is 80% Arms, they were there. And so we got to sit and listen to our case at oral arguments in front of the Supreme Court. So that was cool by itself. But so I think we're going to win that one. It'll probably be like a 5-4 in our favor, but we won't know probably until like May or June, I think, of 2025. But that's a huge one. And really, the entire industry needs to be concerned about those style of rule changes because it affects everybody, whether they believe it or it does or doesn't. The way they're worded, it's going to affect every single manufacturer from, Sig Sauer, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, all the way down to guys that are only making, 100 rifles a year or something. So we need to make sure that the ATF is held in check from the balance of power that they have and what they've been doing. So, Congress has very clearly described what firearms are, and then we peel it away as we go a little bit here and there. So it's totally changed the landscape of what a firearm is, and I think we're going to bring that back to reality.
Yeah, I think that's you brought up a good point, and I think that's our biggest issue as an industry or as a community as whole is, hey, this doesn't affect me now kind of mentality when it comes to things. We got the frame and receiver issue, and that, bigger companies, oh, well, I don't do 80% frames, or I don't do this. But we saw the same issue with the bump stocks. And it was like, bump stocks, it's everybody thinks,
Right.
I'm going to say it now. A good chunk of us think they're the dumbest thing to ever be invented, but everybody should have the right to own it. Well, when the bump stock ban came down, everybody was like,
Right.
Well, then they went over after the FRT triggers and this, and it's going to be the same thing that's going to go with this Vanderstock case. That if they go and they go, okay, well, how does that affect? I'm going to break the fourth wall for people out there. Not a lot of people do their own forgings,
Right.
So, like, how's that going to affect a SIG, a Ruger, a Smith and Wesson, who have to buy forgings from the one of 6 or 7 forge houses that are out there? And that's an 80% forging that
Basically.
shows up at their house, not their house, their warehouse to go into the machining process, or it's or even like a Faxon or the smaller companies. It's a ripple effect. How do we get the companies that don't think they're affected to actually get on board with this?
Yeah. So before this rule went into effect, there was a comment period. And so we got everybody that we knew on the 80% side involved. We drafted letters and kind of like a industry letter we sent out. And Sig Sauer actually stepped up and I think they did their own, but they realized that the way that they're, even the P365 or the P320, how it's a modular system, the way this rule was written, the grip module, which is not a firearm, the way it sits on a P320 or P365, that would have been considered a firearm. Now the ATF's going to tell you, that's not the way we intended this to be. It's not going to affect you, but it's going to, because it always does. They don't write these rules narrow. It's very broad, and and it's for every 3-lettered agency. It's not just the ATF, the EPA, everybody else. So SIG saw that was what was coming down the road, and so they got involved, which I got to give kudos to them, because they're the only mainstream business that gun manufacturer that got involved, as far as I know. So it does affect everybody. It will affect everybody. The forgings for AR-15s, like you said, those are going to be thousands. Where you could ship a pallet of it from the forging house to the manufacturer, and it's just a part. Well, now the forging is going to have a manufacturer's license. They're going to have to serialize everything. And what happens if one literally falls off the truck in shipping or something? Now you have a missing firearm that's not really a firearm. It's a chunk of metal. But now you got to go through that process. And it's just a whole spider web of mess.
Well, and not only that, but then you got to think on top of that, how much more money it's going to cost for those forgings, because now they have to go and individually serialize. Okay, well, now when it gets to the manufacturer to manufacture it, do they run with the same serial number, or do they have to go do a new serial number because it's their thing, or does everybody have to send out their variants beforehand? Right. It's a waterfall that a lot of people don't think of the small things. You're like, oh, it doesn't affect me. I don't make 80%.
Right.
Or I don't sell 80%ers, but it's going to change so much.
Yeah, totally would change the landscape of the firearms industry, which is what they want. Yeah, unfortunately, but
and it's a lot of things. We saw it with, we saw it with hunters. We see it with everything. It's like, well, that doesn't affect me now.
Right.
It's not going after. They're going after AR-15s. Well, I've used the same 30-30 Winchester that my daddy gave me, and it was his daddy's. And,
right.
But and I think that was a great, to jump back real quick to the grassroots thing. Like, that was a great thing that we did during the election period. We got a lot of those. The claim is 10 million gun owners are unregistered voters. We're seeing this shift, this culture shift in gunners actually getting out and voting. And I really have to attest to that they're now seeing, like, oh, this actually is going to affect me. Oh, this is something what do you mean? I did a class a couple weeks ago or a few months ago at this point with Carrie Stallone, and we're sitting there, and Carrie runs the organization We the Female. We're sitting there, and in this class, there's liberal gun owners, and to watch them as we actually start fact checking them. Well, Australia did a gun ban. Well, actually, Australia did do a gun ban. It was more of a buyback, but violent crime didn't drop. Well, of course, their whole thing was gun violence dropped. Gun violence dropped. Yeah, but everything else went through the roof.
Right. It's just replaced by something.
It's just replaced by something. Criminals are going to do criminal things.
That's right.
There's nothing you can say about that. That's what they do.
Yeah. Now there's stabbing attacks in the UK and places like that.
Well, Australia had last year 2 or 3 mass stabbings.
How do you even say that? Just saying that out loud sounds crazy.
It sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Well, when I think it's the thing that comes to my mind when I hear mass stabbing is like some dude with a samurai sword running around.
Yeah.
Like from a ninja movie.
Right.
Like it just doesn't sound right.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's the same thing. When you start saying the facts, or if you start telling them, like even people who say it doesn't affect them or it doesn't affect me at this point in time, well, it's a slippery slope.
Right.
Because once you take, hey, they came. The saying is, oh, they came for my AR-15s and I said nothing, and then they came for the wood semi. Then they came for semi-automatics and I said nothing. And then all of a sudden they came for bolt guns and I said nothing because it doesn't affect me. And then they came for shotguns and then I was like, oh,
right.
And it's too late. It's too late. It's the same thing we see in other states with mag bans and everything like that. Everyone says, well, it doesn't affect me at this point. It will.
It will. Yeah. And I think you touched on something that we all need to realize is that the 2A is not just a conservative movement or a conservative idea. We have plenty of, liberal or whatever you want to classify yourself as on the left side, I guess, of center. So we really need to embrace those folks too. And it's not just a white guy thing. Women are a huge growing segment of the firearms industry. And low income folks are some of the folks that need it the most. So we have a lot of them coming into the space too. So we really need to kind of change our public appearance, I think, and public persona that this is a conservative, good old boys club. I think, and we're doing it with the younger generations. I'll be 40 in a couple weeks here. So I think the folks younger than me are doing a much better job in embracing all walks of the political spectrum and all walks of the economic spectrum and everything else. So we need to bring everybody together when it comes to the 2A.
Yeah. I mean, again, the election just happened. During the election cycle, we put out our scorecard. And a lot of people will think, well, I'll just vote R across the board. Mm-hmm. Like, because they follow what I believe in, they're pro-gun. Not all Republicans are pro-gun. Mm-hmm. Not all Democrats are anti-gun. Mm-hmm. That's where those scorecards come into effect. You're absolutely right. We're not only seeing an increase in women who are gun owners, but we saw during COVID, we jumped up 40 million new gun owners. Mm-hmm. They're not all conservative. And that's a big thing, is that gun rights don't have a letter next to them.
Right.
There's no R or D next to gun rights. It is our Second Amendment. There's our constitutionally given right. If you are a gun owner and you want to stay a gun owner and you're seeing these attacks, now is the time to go, okay, well, which politicians are pro-gun? Mm-hmm. Which politicians vote with the way I vote? Sean Heron, who's a good friend of ours who has been on the show, we talk about it all the time. As being in the firearms industry, we're in this echo chamber, and we only hear about firearm stuff and things like that. And when we go outside of our echo chamber, it's when we start learning things and learning how to go after these attacks. But we also have to understand, like, there are people who own guns who are not in the same echo chamber as we are. And we need to get them to understand, like, hey, this is what's really happening. This is why this is bad. Because they might go, well, I've got a shotgun. I don't want an AR-15. AR-15 bad. Well, listen, if they ban AR-15s, your shotgun's not too far down the road to go. Oh no, they'll never ban you.
Right.
You never know that.
Yeah. Yeah. We've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
And that's the thing. A lot of people think that like the Second Amendment is this American thing, and it is, but Britain had what they would say their Second Amendment based on what their king was pushing at the time. They don't have guns anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And you see how that's going.
Right.
Australia, the same thing. We're seeing the Canadians are big gun people too. We're seeing their attacks too. It's a trickle down effect. And you can look at the examples around the world and just see how it affects. And now coming to us, and we're like, well, it'll never happen here.
Right. Or the last stand.
Yeah.
And they're chipping away at it every day. So
yeah, the small thing's the big thing. It's always the small things. So people don't understand there's anti-gun legislation in almost everything
right.
that goes through because they're trying.
And that's where it starts. You gain some traction, state level, city level, maybe you start at the city level, you gain some traction there, go to the state, then the federal. So you really got to work at all aspects of it. It goes back to what we said earlier about contacting your representatives, local, state, federal. You need to contact all of them all the time and let them know where they need to be to maintain their positions.
Yeah, and you guys, you're in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on where you're at in Pennsylvania, it's like, oh, guns are bad or oh, guns are good. You know, what's it like being in such a large state where it's literally depending on where you are in the state is where the climate change is?
Yes, we have preemption in Pennsylvania, so they can't. Cities, except Philadelphia, for some reason, I think it's because they're considered a city of the first class, and it used to be because they had over 1 million people, I think was the explanation. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, across the state, these little townships and local ordinances and stuff, they try to add in gun restrictions, and they can't. So that's one good thing that we have about Pennsylvania with our preemption laws. But you get down to the city of Pittsburgh, we put on a gun show there. There hadn't been a gun show in the city of Pittsburgh for, I forget how long, 20 years, I'm going to make it up. So we rented the convention center and had a small show there, but you should have heard the phone calls we got from local gun owners that you can't have a show there. You can't sell AR-15s there because there was a city ordinance a few years ago that they tried to ban, I think it was AR-15s in the city limits or something. It got struck down, of course. I think GOA actually did that. So anyway, yeah, but you go anywhere else, right in the city of Pittsburgh, because we're on the western side of the state. So you go anywhere outside the city of Pittsburgh and it's all your standard gun owners, hunters, normal everyday people. Same with Philadelphia. You get down to the city of Philadelphia, it's terrible, and the city hates firearms. But you get just a little bit outside of Philadelphia and they're all normal people that understand that firearms are there for protection, for all the things that we use them for. So it is a very interesting state. All the middle is normal for the most part too. So yeah.
Well, it's funny because Ohio has the same thing,
mm-hmm.
where the city of Cleveland had a 15-round restriction, and everyone's like, "Wait a minute, what? Well, you can't do that." And then Columbus tried to ban AR mags, and it was the same thing, where the state's like, "Wait a minute, you can't do that." And we're now seeing that. We're seeing a lot of it on the city level. I mean, Memphis, which we're going to sue on or have already sued on. Memphis is trying to do gun things. And even where we held our convention, it's the same thing. Knoxville has a law with no gun show. And we went in there and all the people in Knoxville, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. But the same thing. Well, they said, no, there's no gun shows allowed here. And we get there and they're like, thank you for doing this.
Right.
We need this. We need this as a community. And that's a big thing that people, again, same thing with what we were talking about is, because they said, no, we can't do this. It hasn't happened in 20 years. My grandfather, the last time we had a gun show, my grandfather was there, blah, blah, blah. And when you come in and do those changes, people's like, oh, no, it's a no. And then you get there and they're like, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like we're afraid of our rights. We're afraid to go against the status quo.
I think it's because we're, like you said earlier, we're just want to be left alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're law-abiding citizens, and that's the big thing with gun owners are law-abiding citizens.
Right.
The amount of the paperwork we have to go through and all this stuff, like we followed the law to the T, or we're scared about breaking the law.
Yeah.
And getting our rights taken away. I think that's what we don't like to be loud. We don't like to be the boisterous. And that's slightly changing. I think we're seeing a culture shift into that. And that's why I'm going to encourage everybody. Now is the time to be the loud person in the room. Because if we're not the loud person, we have this opportunity that we don't get very often, where we have both the House and the Senate and the presidency. We don't get that very often. Mm-hmm. The last time we had it, we were kind of like, cool, we got it.
Right.
You guys going to do anything?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
And then our 2 years came up.
Right.
And we lost it.
Right.
Now is the time to go, do it.
Yeah.
Do it now. Or else.
Yeah.
We'll put somebody else in. Who will do it. And now is the time to do that. To do it now.
Yeah. Right. Don't be afraid.
Don't be. I don't know why. I don't get it. I don't get why we're so afraid to.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just been beaten into our heads, I guess, from the time we were little. Maybe.
Probably. I mean, we were all grew up with, most of us at this point, we're boomer parents and we're Gen X, very quiet. And now when you wake up the Gen Xers, good luck. Sorry. You guys are in trouble. Yeah. Those people have been waiting. So let's get into what we call our spicy topic of the day. And let's just kind of go, we touched on footprint, but it's spicy. What are companies doing wrong? We don't have to say names, but what are we doing wrong in the optic space that we should do better?
I don't know. Probably there's so many great options out there. It's hard to kind of pinpoint what somebody's doing wrong, I guess. Generally, my thoughts are listen to the customers and then try to peel back the nonsense that they're claiming that they want versus what they're actually going to buy. An example in our parts business is 10mm. Oh, if you had this in 10mm, I'd buy this thing. So then we made it in 10mm. Get the same. Oh, if you had it in 10mm, well, I have one. Oh, that's cool, man. Hey, thanks for showing me. And off they go. So they think that they want some whiz bang something. So somebody makes it and it falls flat. So we are focusing on the core customer, and we'll eventually branch out into some more risky things, I guess you could say, as far as like a product line would go, maybe some off the wall design feature or something like that. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what
you just hit the topic of all topics. So this makes me laugh every time I was at shows. When I was at Faxon, we have like somebody come up. You need to make this in this oddball caliber because me and 10 of my friends will buy it. No, sir, we can't do that. What do you mean? But then it's exactly what you mean is people will ask for a product and then people get mad. They're like, why aren't you making XYZ product? Well, the market doesn't say I need XYZ product. Well, me and my friends want to buy XYZ product, and they'll get a group of people together and they'll all be loud and boisterous, and finally you make XYZ product. Cool. Thank you for making XYZ. And you
sell 4 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you made 500.
And they're like, you're like, yeah, I did it. What do you want?
Right.
Yeah. Well, I wanted something different. Well, what did you want? This is exactly what you asked for.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always changing. So you got to really take the good with the bad and figure it out.
And that's what we talk about. I've talked about this with industry folks is we talk about all the time. Everyone's like, oh, the firearms industry doesn't innovate. They don't innovate. The minute you innovate or do something different, oh, look at them doing that different thing. It's
all the haters come out of the woodwork. Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, and then there's been some attempts at some outside of the box thinking. One of the big ones that come to mind is the Taurus curve. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, outside of the box thinking. The gun's curved to conceal better. just then everyone's like, nah, this is dumb.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel bad for that. I will applaud them. I think they're one of the best outside of the box thinkers in the industry. But every time they come out with something, someone's like I remember they did the Curve. Then they did a really, really, really small revolver with like a piece of Lexan or Lexi or whatever, so you can see the internals. I'm like, that's cool, and everyone's like, nah, it's stupid. Like, well, that's kind of cool.
It's kind of cool, yeah.
But I'd like to see that. I don't know why, and this is a great example of why we don't do some of that stuff. Is everyone's like, innovate, 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 and we're like, no.
Yeah. Another one for on that topic is the folding Glock. Do you remember that from a few years ago?
I do remember that.
Guy was pretty cool. The guy that owned the company, I talked to him a few times, but yeah, it just, it's innovation, of course. I mean, you basically cut a Glock in half and made it fold in on itself. Cool idea. Engineering stuff was cool to see. And maybe that's not the product, but eventually down the road, maybe that small idea turns into some next whiz bang thing that somebody actually wants.
Well, I mean, look at the Hudson. Like that was a cool idea, and then they just kind of, Daniel has brought it back now, but same idea. It's like, oh, cool, whiz bang, and then either they just can't keep up with demand, or they go out of business.
Yeah, I think there's some product issues there, maybe too.
There was a little bit of.
I don't know a lot about it, but
a little bit of product issues there.
Yeah, but yeah, things like that is cool. That Choppa, is how you say it, the Rhino, that revolver that shoots off the bottom. That's kind of neat. I don't, never shot one, but it looks cool. Cool idea, maybe.
I've shot. They're dope.
Yeah, they look sweet.
I just want cool stuff.
Yeah,
that's all I'm asking. Industry people, I want cool stuff. Hey, we're friends. But that's the thing is, we always ask for cool stuff. Like if you come out tomorrow with a giant optic. Because everybody wants big windows. They're going to be like, cool, that's too big.
It's too big, yeah.
And then you shrink it. Oh, now that's too small. Small. Well, where do you want it? Well, we want big, like the last one.
Yeah.
But we want smaller.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah, maybe we'll make a folding, like the Samsung phones that fold. Maybe we'll make a lens that folds. Yeah, so you get both. Yeah, so you get to decide what if you're going to go competition, fold it open.
The next one, I put an LCD TV on top of your gun.
Yeah.
A 40-inch window.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the thing. We always we want this, and then we can, really didn't want that.
Yeah.
I thought I wanted it, but
turns out I didn't.
No.
I'll just take the Glock 19.
just the Glock 19. I mean, you're not wrong. It's like I really want this. I want a polymer frame, but I want the slide of a CZ. And this, and somebody's like, cool, here it is. Nah, just take a Glock.
Yeah. Yeah. People get wild with some of their ideas. So, and you got to go where the money's at. I mean, we're in business to make money. Ultimately, if we don't make money, then,
what do you mean?
Yeah, you don't get to buy anything because I can't make it. So you got to really make sure your R&D dollars are going where the money's at.
You're trying to make money? What do you mean?
I know, secrets out of the bag. You're
breaking
here.
The fourth wall. You're going to blow everyone's money.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I think as a society, we always want stuff, but we don't want to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
We want somebody else to do it. Hey, you've been to show. Hey, I got an idea for you, buddy. Every show.
Mm-hmm.
I got an idea. I got this idea for you. Cool. I don't think that product's for me, but go for it. Try it. A lot of people have these ideas. They're scared to do it. Go do it.
Yeah.
Go do it. Have fun.
Yep.
Try it. Take risk in life.
You have to. That's how you start a business. And we always would tell those guys, hey, listen, if someone was serious about a product, it's not for us. We're not going to spend our efforts on it. It just doesn't fit what we're doing right now. But if you find somebody that makes it, or I can connect you with people that could make it, we'll sell it. I'll retail it and help you out in that way. But very few make it beyond the, hey, I got this idea. So, which I wish more people would take their idea and turn it into something. I mean, we'd have much better stuff if everybody could do it. We have a lot of dumb stuff, but you got to get the dumb stuff out of the way for the good stuff to come through.
Well, a great example of an idea, and again, this is not for everybody, but this was my I really love the guy who came up with the idea. He's got a great story. Is that pen gun? Do you see Liberty or the pen gun?
Yep.
Such a cool idea.
Yeah.
Such a cool product. Like he went out and did it. Like, yes, is it practical?
Probably not.
But is it cool?
Super cool.
Oh, yeah. Well, I shot it at goals and I love it. Even though it's like, I'm like, what am I going to do with this thing? No, it's a talking point. It's a cool thing. The story behind it is super cool.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if I ever get kidnapped, I want that pen gun with me.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you see the belt too? Did they show the belt?
The
with the
belt?
speed loader or whatever. Yeah, that was awesome.
But it's people like that who come out with those cool ideas and where everyone's going to go. There's two sides of the fence to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like either it's super cool or, yeah, it's not for me.
Yeah.
But I'm in that party of that's super cool.
Yeah.
And I want to see more things like that are just kind of like, I mean, we can only have so many Glock clones. We can only have so many 1911 variants. We can only have, like, everyone's like, I want cool new products.
Yeah.
You know,
get your bases covered, then go get a pen gun.
Get a pen gun.
Brought to you by John Farner.
Yes. Brought to you by me. Mark, if you're listening to this, get a pen gun. The owner, he's got a great story. Did you talk to him at Goals?
I didn't talk to him at Goals, but I talked to him at another event.
He's got such a cool story. I think he's a cool guy. We're gonna do some work with them, but the pen gun, just the story behind it, what his whole story is cool. So speaking of stories, let's get back to you. So we know that you mentioned the Omega's your top selling product. What else have you been coming out with lately that's been kind of the hot new whiz bang stuff? So
the Granite we got sitting there, that's our competition window Granite. So it's an MOS footprint. So that's, again, one of those things we were talking about. It's its own pattern. Glock decided that they are perfection and the MOS is that. So instead of having an adapter plate, we thought there's not a ton of people making a Glock MOS footprint. So that's what we did. So that right now is the competition window. We have a carry window. If the competition's too large, we have the carry. It's a little bit smaller.
It's a big window.
It's a big window.
Guys, it's a really big window. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's a big window.
Yeah. So geared towards competition, but you could carry it. We do our own destruction tests too. Bob does all those. And he just ran one and he was texting us some video while he was doing it. He's like, I haven't broke this yet. And I've done 6-foot drop tests, thrown it across concrete, all the different things, beat a nail into a board almost, I don't know. He does all kinds of stuff with them. And then he eventually got it to break because it's aluminum and it's glass. It's going to break. But so it's, dare I say, the most rugged red dot we have right now, even with that gigantic window. So, but that's the new one. We have some other ones coming out. This won't launch till probably January or so. Yeah. This video. So we have an RMSC enclosed emitter. So that's in production right now. I'm hoping to have it. I'll definitely have it before SHOT Show, but I was hoping to have it before Christmas. I'm not sure if that'll happen or not. And then we have some other stuff coming. 5 to 25 rifle scope, kind of a long range. Working on a super short LPVO. What else? A couple other RMSC footprints, big windows. There's a lot of guns like a Canic that are coming with, full size gun that have the small footprint because the slides are so narrow. So we've developed a large window with a small footprint for the competition guys or the full size firearms guys. Yeah. And the Avidity arms too would fit into that category for us. Kind of a full size frame with a slender slide. So a couple of those coming. And then we'll do a Granite for RMR as well, because that's kind of the Glock 19 of the footprints is the RMR style footprint. So we'll develop that. That's kind of what we got right now. I'm always looking at thermal and stuff, but I don't know a whole lot about it. I'm kind of super fresh there, so I got to see what that looks like.
I mean, a closed emitter RMSC, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I'm really excited.
Like it. Yeah.
You've made me excited. Before I forget, Bob, do you need anything? You good, buddy? If you need anything, let me know.
Nice.
Yeah, I had to throw it in there somewhere.
Yeah.
There's a backstory behind this. It's an inside joke. Sorry, folks. That was such a good time.
It was a great time.
Screwing with each other at goals, talking.
Yeah.
And that's we touched on it for a bit, but that's the fun part about our community and we talked about actually this last night, how the firearms community looks really large, but it's really small and tight knit. And you're like, you said you hadn't met a bad person yet. And that's because all the bad people get kicked out.
Yeah.
It's true though.
Yeah, it must be. I'm sure there's a couple.
There's a
sour apples or whatever out there.
A few sour apples out there, but
for the most part, everybody I've met in this industry, I've been here 11 years, so I still feel like I'm the new guy. But I've been around just as long as most of everybody else. But it's been a great community and tons of support. I mean, if you have a question about your product, you can pick up the phone and find somebody. Within 2 or 3 phone calls, like we were talking about last night, if you're trying to get a hold of somebody, we're tight enough that you can get that done.
And that's the thing. We are approachable. We're very personable. But that's the thing. Like when you get it, a lot of people ask me all the time, like, how do I get into the space? Or, I just got in this space. Well, what do I do? And I always go, well, go network, talk to people, become friends. Because once you know one person, you know 20 people. And once you become friends with them, like we brought Ton last night came by. You're like, oh, I remember. I know you from TV, and we talked. And he's one of those people where I'll call and be like, hey, I need contact at so and so. My contact left, and that's the other thing. Like people move around so much in this industry that you could be like, if you were to move to Hollow tomorrow for some reason, I don't know why you would move over there, but
yeah.
It's the same thing. Like, oh, okay, now I got a guy over for Hassan, and I don't have a guy over at Gideon anymore. Let me call so-and-so. And then they'd be like, oh, yeah, Bob is over there at Gideon. You know, and that's the cool part about our space is we move around, but it's like, what's the game? 5 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
It's the 5 Degrees of the gun industry. Like, but a person who knows everybody.
Right. And even these air quotes, famous gun tuber and personalities in the gun space, firearm space, all the ones that I've ran into are super personable. Like I remember the first time I met Rob Pincus. I remember watching him on TV whenever I was a little bit younger and on the Outdoor Channel and all that stuff. So, but he's about as regular dude as can be. We met him at the Gunmakers match, which we have a lot of fun at. But and Rob and I are great friends, years later, and I see him all over the place. And who else? Ton. Last night I've never spoken to him, but I mean we were there for a while at dinner and just cutting it up and having a great time. So everybody at Brandon Herrera ran into at SHOT Show, and somebody I was with knew him, and so we just kind of stopped and talked to him for a minute. I mean, all these guys are super personable. Well,
that's my example is I met Sean when I was working at Faxon. I can call him. I called him the other day, and they're friends. Like some of my friends and people, they're like, John Patton? Yeah, I know John Patton. Yeah, I'll call him right now.
Yeah.
You want to talk to John? Here's John Patton.
Right.
What? No way.
Yeah,
he's a friend. Like Tactical Toolbox is a really good friend of mine, and so he lives down the road from him. So it was Tactical Toolbox, Tactical Considerations. There's so many tacticals,
right?
And Mr. Big Kid, they're all friends of mine. So I'm like, hey, come over for Thanksgiving. So we're sitting there Thanksgiving, and we take a picture, and people are like, wait, Tactical Toolbox?
Right.
Yeah, he's at my house for Thanksgiving. What?
Yeah.
They're friends now. Again, growing up, and I grew up in the YouTube, we call it the YouTube era, because I was just, when YouTube started, I was just going into college, so all the gun tubers and stuff was fresh, new. And then going into the industry, like, you'd be like, hey, these are the guys I watch all the time. Then you get to talk to them, and now they're a friend, and you're like, it went from like, oh my God, fangirling over, I've told Patton this story, I was like fangirling over Patton at a show the one year to now I literally 2 days ago, I called him, hey buddy, how's it been?
Right.
Just to catch up. It's crazy to think how we are people.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to be like, as long as you're not creepy.
Yeah.
please don't be creepy. You can come up and give me a hug. Just don't
he likes that.
Don't be creepy.
Yeah, no, you can be creepy.
The guy last night.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing. Kaylee, who's a co-host, who's on maternity leave right now. We filmed in Myrtle Beach. We came up in the elevator at the hotel we stayed at, and that's the same hotel you were staying at last night. And I got there early, and they wouldn't let me check in because it was under her name. She comes upstairs and she's talking to this guy. It's the security guard for the hotel, and she's talking to him. And I'm like, "Do you know him? Did you meet him?" She goes, "No, he watches the show."
Yeah, nice.
And I go, "You've been recognized." She goes, "It's so weird and awkward." Weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care. Like,
yeah.
Hey, just say hi.
Yeah. Walking around some of our shows, man, I get some young guys that have seen me on different, I don't even know, YouTube or whatever. And I'll kind of hear them behind me like, "Hey, I think that's that guy." I'm like, "There's not talking about me, you know?" And then they'll like tap me like, "Hey, man, are you Jordan?" "Yeah. Hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you." "Oh, man, I saw you on whatever, this podcast or something." So it doesn't happen all the time. It's happened, maybe 2 or 3 times over the years, but it's the craziest thing that total strangers recognize any of us. And,
Oh, it was weird the first time we went to the gathering.
Yeah.
And this is right after we did our episode with Jamin, the owner of PSA. I got stopped 100 times by people. Hey, how's it go? Oh, you talked to... I'm just like, yeah. At first it was like, yeah, hi.
Right.
You're
just messing with me, you kind of thing.
You know me?
Yeah.
But after a while, it's become that it's just like, hey, yeah, how you doing? Good. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being it. I was out with or Sean told me the story. Sean was out with Patton in Colorado at Costco, and somebody's like, "Are you John Patton?" He goes, "No, I'm not that guy." But then the guy's like, "Oh, okay." I thought, and he goes, "No, he goes, yeah." But
that's awesome.
But it's cool, like, and that's the cool part. Like, we're approaching. Just don't be weird and awkward.
Yeah.
But come, like, I see people at shows and people stop and say hi, and we see it all the time with even with gun tubers. Hey, how you doing? Just like my favorite story. My first SHOT Show. Jerry Mitchellek came by the booth, and Jerry Mitchellek is a god to most of the people in the gun industry. So this is my first SHOT Show with a company, like gun ho kid.
Yeah.
So I just walked up to him like I knew him forever. I'm like, "Hey Jerry, how you been, buddy? Good to see you." "Yeah, I come here to talk about this." "Cool. Hey, do you mind? I'm going to talk to you about this. Do you mind checking this? I want to get your opinion on this product that we had a lightweight AR, super. It was like under 5 pounds. Like, Jerry, hey, this is our competition lightweight AR. Can I get your opinion on this real quick?" He goes, "Oh yeah." So I showed it to him, sitting there talking, and Kurt. Kurt was in charge of marketing at Faxon, and I turn around and they are all jaws on the ground because the new guy's talking to Jerry.
Yeah.
And they're freaking out, and I'm just because I'm a personable person, but because I treated him like he was a human, he's just I want to hang out, and then I got a tap on the shoulder from somebody and pulled out of the conversation real quick. But it was like. I had been talking to Jerry for like 3 minutes.
That's awesome.
And I got a tap on the shoulder from somebody.
Get out of here, new guy. Quit screwing this up.
Well, no, Jerry and I were actually we were talking about bulk carrier groups, and he was like really into it. We were both into it, and I got the tap on the shoulder like, "You need to go. You're the new guy." Like, all right, cool. I had Jerry all ready to go.
Yeah,
but
that's awesome.
But that's the thing. Everybody, if you approach it the right way, like, we're just people.
Yeah.
I don't even like when I met Herrera, I was just like, "Hey, how's it going? Good to meet you. Good to see you." And there was a couple who have been like really taken aback by it. Like, "You don't know who I am." "Oh no, dude, I know who you are. I'm just being like, hey, normal. Good to see you." Like, cool. Like, have we met before? No.
Yeah, but you're just a guy.
You're just a guy
puts his pants on one leg at a time.
You're cool people.
Yeah.
Like Same thing with Othias. I fangirled over Othias. He came in here. Now we're friends. So it's just the same thing. Like, yeah, you're the reason why I buy things. And he goes, what? I'm like, yeah, you and your old gun magic, you wizard.
Yeah.
Love you, buddy. But it's that's the cool part. We're not all old white people, like we said. And we want everybody to be in the community. That's a big thing that a lot of people. I'll talk again. Go into that class, like the very liberal people who were in there. They were like taken aback about how nice we were and how genuine we are, and how everyone thinks we're the devil,
right?
Like, and
how actually accepting we are of all walks of life to come together.
Like from the water boy, we're not the devil, mama. We're not, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
We're all walks of life. We probably all grew up in the same experience. You know, we had similar experiences and things like that. And, you know, that's the cool part about the community part. And that's why when I say, like, now is the time to continue growing that grassroots, it's because we need to continue to grow that community.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have more in common than differences. So
yeah, we all like shooting guns.
Yeah, do it more often.
Yeah, do it now, right now. Pause this.
Desktop.
Go to desktop. Pause this and go. You're driving. Pull over and go. Go to the range now. Go now. Do it.
You're in Chicago. You just roll your window down.
Oh God.
No.
Well, on that note, Jordan, where can people find you, find the company, socials, all that fun stuff? I appreciate, again, thank you for being on. Enjoy your gift from Palmetto.
I certainly will. Thank you.
Thank you again to Palmetto for sponsoring and to all the sponsors. But yeah, go ahead.
GideonOptics.com, all the socials, X, Instagram, Facebook, Gideon Optics.
You heard the man, GideonOptics.com. Go check them out. Get yourself an Omega. Highly recommend. Really love the Omega. I've got it on my Prodigy. Fantastic optic. Again, another home run from you guys. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the little bell for notifications. Subscribe on all podcasting hosts, and we will see you on the next one.